thank you so much for helping me hit 1,000 subscribers. I've been taking questions in preparation for this milestone. I've got 17 of them over the last couple of weeks. We're going to jump right in. First question comes from Justin Coley, one of the OG fans here on RJTempo. He's been commenting on stuff since like 2 years ago. So Justin, shout out to you, seriously. He says, congrats, well deserved. Thank you. What was your start into drumming? And then second question here, if someone wanted to start drumming, where would you advise them to learn or start from? Massive congrats again on to 10K. Yes, we're hitting 10K. I'm going to combine this first question with another one that I got from Oceano Wada. I assume that's a fan of the band Oceano, which is pretty cool. They ask on IG how long you've been playing drums for. So I'm going to kind of answer both of these here. I've been playing drums for about 16 years. The way that I got my start was actually that my older brother started playing drums before me, and I didn't take to it immediately. I was playing piano at the time. I started taking piano lessons when I was 6 years old. But over the course of probably a year, there were 3 things that happened that all kind of pushed me towards it. Originally, I was a piano player in like the school concert band or orchestra. And then one of the other piano players was clearly a lot better than me. So I got shifted to playing marimba or vibraphone, which is in the percussion section. So I was officially in the percussion section. Soon that would transition into more drumming. Another thing that happened around this time, as I mentioned, my brother was drumming. My mom pitched that I go to see one of my brother's drum lessons because he would take weekly lessons with a private tutor. So I went to one of those just to kind of observe, and that was really insightful for me. And I ended up taking lessons with that tutor for like 6 or 7 years. The third thing is that I was playing a lot of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and I got Guitar Hero World Tour, which had the plastic drum set. So I started playing that. I already had that kind of like rhythmic backbone. And the ability to read like sheet music because of my piano lessons. So that happened. I was in the percussion section at school, which meant I was pretty close to the snare drum players. And then, of course, my brother was taking lessons. So all of those things happened at kind of like the same time around when I was 12 years old. I fully dropped piano, went to drums, started taking weekly lessons, and never looked back. The second question from Justin here, if someone wanted to start drumming, where would you advise them to learn or start from? There's a lot of really good educators online and obviously throughout the world. I would say if you have the means of taking, weekly or bi-weekly lessons in person from a tutor in your town, definitely do that. If you can't, there's a lot of good online resources. The 2 that I'm going to shout out are JP Beauvais. He's a fantastic drummer, a really nice guy. I've met him before for a lesson. He has an online course that's really great. He does give a month free at the start, so I would recommend starting with that. And then Mike's lessons, also really great. I don't know if he does the free month. Probably does. I haven't checked. But he's good. He does a lot of cool content. I'm going to do a separate video later about my style of practice and education and like really dive deep into it. So if you're really interested in hearing about that, more to come soon. On that note, question from Radis Mad. Hell yeah, brat boy. What's your practice routine? How often are you playing? Thank you, Maddie. I won't be too long-winded about it because I'm going to have another video soon that dives deep into this. But I try to play an hour a night on weekdays because I have a full-time job. And then on the weekends, I play as much as humanly possible while still maintaining some semblance of a social life. So if possible, I try to get like 4 hours in on a Saturday and a Sunday. But on weeknights, probably about an hour. I'm not too regimented with what I practice in that it's not like I have to do this and this and this on such and such day. But there's a lot of things that I do like to cover. Obviously, I do drum covers, so I'm spending a lot of time playing along to songs, trying to learn them by ear, occasionally transcribing parts of it that are tough. I also spend a lot of time working out of a couple books. There's a Steve Gadd book called Gaddaments that I've been taking a lot of cool stuff out of. I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming video. I spent a lot of time working on speed, working on groove, and then a lot of times I'll just improvise and just play what I want and just really try to get in the flow state and just go crazy for 20 minutes and play whatever comes to mind. Again, more detail on that in an upcoming video, but that's kind of the highlight of it. This one's a really important question coming from Maksudakatun 1234. Apologies if I mispronounced that one. How do I learn drums without a full drum kit? I'm really poor. First of all, thank you for saying it and being vulnerable. Life is hard for a lot of people. What I would recommend, first and foremost, is just get you some drumsticks. It's like $7. You can play on a pillow. You can play on a couch cushion. You can play on a table. If you can afford a pair of drumsticks and you have access to the internet, you can do a lot for very, very little money. Because again, there's like lots of free courses online. If you have a little bit more money, maybe like $100, I would recommend getting a set of like drum practice pads, not just one pad, but like 4 of them kind of arranged like you would have like a snare and 3 toms. That can replicate the mechanics of an actual drum set really well. If you can get that, and like 1 or 2 books, like some basic snare books, and then just start working on your rudiments. Or even if you don't have the books physically, you're just Googling what are the 12 basic drum rudiments, you can start to practice that. If you can't afford all of the pads, just get one drum pad or just literally play on a table or a pillow. I've done that. Sometimes when I'm on vacation, I'll literally I always bring a pair of sticks everywhere I go, and then I'll just play on like a cushion. It actually gets a lot done, especially because you can practice your feet just by stomping on the ground. It's not as fun as the real drum set, but if you're able to save up a little bit of money and get those practice pads, and then maybe down the road like a used drum set for cheap, but even that is really tough for people. I get it, man. Life is hard. But I appreciate you asking this. There's a lot of things that can be done on a budget, so I would recommend those. I'm going to try to put some links down below. Now for some questions about drummers and bands and other musicians that I'm interested in. This comes from JuddaLee2367 on YouTube. They ask, what is your favorite metal band? Also recommending a drum cover of GP by JPEG Mafia. We'll see about that one. Stay tuned. What is my favorite metal band? I'll give 2 answers. Historically, like of all time, it's kind of a hot take for a lot of people, but it's actually Periphery. Maybe a surprise because I've never covered anything from them. I've been too anxious to cover them because they're really hard. Periphery is my favorite band ever. Has been since I was like 13 when their debut album came out. I've been following them pretty much since the beginning. But I'll also offer that in the last couple of years, Knocked Loose has been my favorite metal band and the one I've listened to the most. So they're kind of like the rising star for me. This comes from T. Hubben, who's a friend of mine on Instagram and in real life. But he asked on Instagram, who is your greatest drummer/vocalist of all time? And in this, I assume he means a drummer who also sings. There's a lot of good options, but I have to go with Brann Dailor of Mastodon. Having seen them live and just the work that he's done on all of their records to date, I mean, especially looking at like Crack the Sky, where he kind of took front and center on the vocal stuff, he's so good. He's such a good drummer, such a unique drummer. His style of just playing fills every single measure is unmatched. Nobody else can do it without it sounding unfitting of the music, but Mastodon writes really well around him, and he's a phenomenal singer too. So he's my shout out for that one. Thank you, Tyler. Another question about some drummers. This comes from I Am Sheldonator on Instagram. What drummers influence your playing the most? Get ready. I wrote it down because there's a lot of them. Not a completely comprehensive list, but to just throw out a couple names, I'm going to start from the beginning. When I started drumming, I would say 3 drummers that were most influential would be The Rev of Avenged Sevenfold, Joey Jordison of Slipknot, and Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, because those were 3 bands that really kind of got me into metal when I was, let's say, 12 years old. Specifically in the prog space would be Matt Garska of Animals as Leaders, Matt Halpern of Periphery, Blake Richardson of Between the Buried and Me. These are all guys I've seen live, and they just crush it. You got Mario Duplantier of Gojira, Eric Imprada, Thomas Pridgeon. You got Raymond from Haken. He's a crazy polyrhythm master. Some other prog guys would be like Thomas Lang, Neil Peart, Danny Carey, right? Kind of legends in their own right. Some more metal guys, Shannon Lucas, phenomenal, like fast drummer. Same goes for Alex Rudinger. And then some jazz guys I have to shout out would be Dave Weckl, Tony Williams, Vinny Cayuta. These are like fusion drummers. I really like Ari Honeg, Larnell Lewis of Snarky Puppy, Yusef Days, JD Beck, Clay of Polyphia, super creative drummer. That's a long list. There's a million more I could talk about, but any of them you could look up and be blown away by, I guarantee you. Speaking of Alex Rudinger, next question comes from Vasya Captain Awesome on YouTube, and they ask, do you admit Alex Rudinger as our drum king and savior? He's one of them. He's absolutely one of the drum kings of the last 10 years. His ability to play mechanically demanding, precise drumming that sounds like it's been quantized even when it isn't, that sounds like it's played with triggers even when it isn't, is almost completely unmatched. Chris Turner and Ocean's 8 Alaska, who I should have mentioned in that last list, he's also kind of on that same page of being like a freaky precise, really fast, really technical metal drummer. Alex Rudinger is one of the GOATs in the metal space right now, so he's definitely one of the drum kings alive currently doing it. Thank you for that question. Here's another one from a really good friend of mine, Kabir on YouTube. We've done some collabs in the past. They actually did some guitar playing and singing and screaming on End, Guillotine. They played on the Knocked Loose cover from like last year, the Deep in the Willow one. Really nice guy. He asks, what are your top 3 albums at the moment? If you had to cover one song off of each of them that I haven't already, what would they be? I'm going to answer this as like currently my top 3 albums of 2024. First one, undoubtedly, is You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose. That's my front runner for album of the year right now. I've already covered Blinding Faith, and I'm working on covering Suffocate and Don't Reach For Me, probably as a 2-for-1, because they're back-to-back on the album. So that's one. I really like the new See You Space Cowboy album. I would love to cover Chewing the Scenery, if possible, just time permitting. Third favorite album right now is a toss-up between a lot of things. I really like Coyote You're My Star by Dana and Alden, but I'm probably not going to cover anything off of that. So I'm going to go with... I'm probably not going to cover this either, but I really like the new Porter Robinson album. Cheerleader is a fun song to play along to. Probably not one I'm going to cover. It doesn't super align with the kind of stuff that you see on my channel. But if you're a Porter Robinson fan and want to hear it, please let me know in the comments. Thanks, Kabir. Shout out to you. This one comes from E. Brady, who's a friend of mine. Evan, shout out to you. He asks, what's your favorite high-tempo song to cover? And then are there any slower songs that I like to play along to as well? I really like this question because when I get on the kit, I like to start by playing some slower songs just to get me, warmed up. And one that people might not expect that I really like is a lot of songs from the artist The Japanese House. It's kind of like a indie pop singer-songwriter act. I love her music. I really do. And a couple songs off her last album are really good, like kind of slow, groovy, simple drum songs that are really good warm-ups. High-tempo songs, obviously I do a lot of fast stuff. I would say Caved In by Spite, which I covered a couple months ago, is a super fast one I can't play most days. A song I have been wanting to cover for years is Purest Strain of Hate by Thy Art Is Murder. Super, super fast song. I've been working on that cover for years. That's kind of an elusive one. That's a very, very fast song. So that's my answer for you, Evan. Thank you. Another question. This one just came in yesterday. This is like the last question that is going to make it into this video. This comes from Christine Menge, 8359 on YouTube. Thank you for the question. They say these covers are pretty cool. Thanks. One question. When someone plays other instruments like piano or guitar, you could kind of tell the rhythm sounds good or bad intuitively, but when you play drums, do you feel the same? Because I feel like you can always get that tempo and style when you play the drum. I think it's the most fascinating part of drum. I'm going to do my best to answer what I think you're asking here. I think if you are really well-versed at your instrument, or even if you don't play an instrument and just listen to a lot of music, I think if you work on it, you can hear any player, no matter what instrument they're playing, and get a good sense of how in the groove and in the pocket they are and how on beat they are. For me, it's definitely more noticeable when I listen to drummers. There are guys who are really proficient and very on the beat, but don't have that kind of like push and pull and groove and swagger. I should have mentioned Nate Smith. Super phenomenal drummer. He is like the best pocket of all time. Him and Chris Dave, phenomenal. There is definitely such a thing as hearing a drummer and they're like, they know what they're doing and they're playing some cool chops. They're competent on the kit, but they just don't really like get your head bobbing like that. Thank you for your question. Another one. This has stumped me. This has been the question that stumped me the most, without a doubt. It comes from a really good friend of mine, Reg Mason on Instagram. Check out Reg. He makes some really phenomenal music. I'll link to his page. He asks, name a fill from a song you think of almost every single day. You'd think this would be an easy one to answer, but I've been stumped over it for like 2 weeks straight since I got this question, because it occurred to me that despite being a drummer, the kind of stuff that gets stuck in my head that I think about all the time are usually like melodies or like lyrics and melodies, or if it's a drumming thing, it's just a groove. I almost never have fills stuck in my head, probably because they don't repeat. It's like an isolated thing, and the stuff that gets stuck in my head is like a loop of a groove or a chorus melody. One that I could say recently is a couple fills in the song Don't Reach For Me by Knocked Loose. There's some really simple but really hard-hitting fills in that song, and they overlap with some really cool like mosh calls. There's a line, a fitting end for an absolute fucking clown, and the drums go like ba ba doo boom boom, and it's like, that's a really simple fill, but I just get that one stuck in my head. There's a run of fills. It's kind of basically a drum solo at the end of the song Moss Immune by Periphery that has always been one of my like favorite drum parts of all time. And it's a lot of fills. So I would say the whole like last 90 seconds of that song is something I think about a lot. So thank you, Reg. Check him out. Great music. Time for a bunch of like less music related questions. I have a few from LES Yankee 6129, which actually stands for Lower East Side Yankee. And I know that because he is my dad. Love you, Dad. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for all the support. He asks, have you ever almost passed out from heat exhaustion after drumming? Serious cardio workout? No, I haven't almost passed out, but there have been a couple times where I go really hard on the kit, playing really fast stuff for like hours, and when I'm done, I just have to lay on the floor. There's definitely some cases where I get off the kit and like my legs are a little wobbly, and walking upstairs is kind of a daunting task, so I just lay on the floor and just sweat it out, and then I drink a bunch of water and get up and go about the rest of my day. Luckily, I haven't passed out, which is good. Another question from him. What are 1 or 2 countries that I've never been to that I want to visit the most? Japan, hands down. 2026, I'm trying to go. Just got to save up for it. Last question from him. If you could have one superhero power, what would you choose? If we're talking classic superhero powers, it would be flight, because that would be really cool. I would love to fly around. But I will also posit that if I could just have any power that isn't even like classically like a superhero power, I would really like to be able to snap my finger and redistribute all of the wealth, implementing a hard wealth cap of $100 million. If you think that's not enough, you're crazy. Redistribute all of that from the billionaires and the multi-millionaires of the world down to the people, the working class, to completely eradicate poverty, homelessness, famine, eliminate student debt, subsidize healthcare, divest from the military, militarized police forces, give that back to the community, eradicate poverty completely. We have the means to do this. I'm an economics major. Come at me in the comments. But flight. Let's go with flight for that one. Question from 7MND, another fantastic musician and a good friend of mine. I will link to his pages below. He asks, what's something you really want to learn and start doing? I'll give a music-related answer and a non-music-related answer. I need to work on my mixing skills. I've been outsourcing a lot of my mixing over the last couple of years to a good friend of mine who I frequently link in my video descriptions. Every time they mix my stuff, I shout them out. I need to work on my mixing, and I need to work on my writing, because I don't write a lot of music. I do a lot of covers, and I would like to start writing original music. Something not music related that I want to learn and start doing more is painting. I've done it sporadically over the years, but never consistently, and it's something I really love to do. I probably paint like once or twice a year, so I want to get better at that and do it way more often. So thank you for that question. Last one. This is a really good question to leave off on because it talks about the future of this channel. Stinky Binky at Runny Nose Forever on YouTube, who is a very, very good friend of mine, Sam. He says, Stinky Binky, so proud of you for getting to 1,000 organically by staying true to what you want to do. Thank you. In what direction do you see the channel moving towards in the future? Live streams, engagement with followers, maybe challenges to other YouTube musicians, collabs. Keep doing what you're doing, rocking the free world, and doot. That is a call out to Nardwar. So this is where I want to end the video, kind of talking about the future here. The main thing I really want to start doing, I mean, there's a lot of them, but I really do want to start streaming. It's going to take a while because there is a very challenging technical requirement to stream high quality drums and video at the same time. I can't run it off of this laptop. I am going to need to buy a PC, and I'm going to need to get OBS, and I'm going to need to get better cameras, and I'm going to have higher bandwidth and just like learn how all of that stuff works and put like a couple $1,000s into it. Not going to happen in 2024, but hopefully at some point in 2025, I will be streaming. I'm really looking forward to that. I do want to do more collabs. I've done a bunch of covers with some friends of mine, and I'm trying to do more. If you want to collab on something, hit me up. Also trying to do more session work. I've done a couple of session drumming projects this year. That can be live drums and MIDI drums on the electric kit. So if you want me on your project, hit me up. DM me, comment, we'll talk, we'll chat, let's get it done. I definitely want to start doing more educational content. I want to do more non-covers. I'm still going to do covers, but I want to do some more drumming that's like different sort of stuff. I have some ideas brewing. You're going to see them start to roll out in the next couple of months. But yeah, mainly more collabs, more original music from me, more session work, and then streaming next year. We're going to cap the video here so it doesn't get too long. Thank you sincerely for helping me reach this milestone that is 1,000 subscribers. Let me know what you're interested in hearing next. I talked about a lot of stuff in this video. If any of it catches your interest more, I would really appreciate that feedback. Thank you. Okay, we're going to end it here before it gets too long. Bye!